What's up, YouTube family? This is another Gemini Thoughts video. Today's video is about intentional, being intentional versus being an anomaly. So this came about due to listening to Anton and other people mention him as an anomaly only because of the fact that his family has not experienced divorce, and him and his wife, they've been together for 17 years and they got married at the age of 22. So with that being said, it had me thinking about what is the difference between being an anomaly and being intentional. I would like to say that when you think of an anomaly, it really creates a thought of something that's unreachable, unattainable. It's one in a million. However, when you think about being intentional really requires a lot of work, a lot of thinking, etc. So as I've been listening to Anton and I've been listening to the feedback of others who have critiqued him and the opportunities that his family and he himself have afforded themselves, I came to this conclusion. To me, it appears that Anton Daniels' family thought about this a long time ago, and that is that when they marry, they're marrying people who they have vetted, people who could perhaps make a difference in their lives, and so forth. I don't know when this started within their family. I guess this is a question that one would have to pose to Anton Daniels, but someone made that decision. So when Anton Daniels constantly states that he's intentional, in order for him to be intentional, that means that his family, they're intentional. That's the energy around their family, being intentional people who think through things before actually doing, people who are disciplined. So the rest of us who don't come from people who are intentional, people who think before they do, for us, he seems like an anomaly, something foreign, something unattainable, something unusual, him and his lifestyle and his family. Now, I created a video the other day in regards to the blueprint, and I also created another video in regards to my conclusion as far as what Kevin Samuels was indirectly showing us, is that our parents failed us, and that's the reason why we're getting the results that we're getting, because everything is always a vicious cycle, or it could be a good cycle, like in Anton Daniels' case. It's a good cycle of people carrying the baton of the people before them, and they're carrying on that same tradition. So in my blueprints video, I mentioned that it is the parents' responsibility, really forefathers and foremothers' responsibility, to come up with a blueprint for the family in order for results to be held, if this family is wanting particular results. So for an example, if the family is a lineage of business owners, of course they are going to want to keep that going. So in order to keep that going, they're going to be intentional about who they marry, how they raise their children, who their children is surrounded around, what the community looks like, what the environment looks like, what the schooling looks like, what everything looks like. Even the family events will be something that supports the ideology behind business. So when I think about Anton Daniels, even when I think about Rita, like, for her to come from the projects and for her to actually pay attention to her mom's storyline on how she ended up pregnant with her, and for Rita to associate having sex with you getting a baby, which is essentially true, and for her to maintain her virginity as long as she did until she found someone that was actually qualified, okay, that within itself shows even Rita was intentional. She paid attention. Rita, paid attention. And under Rita's circumstances, coming from a single mom, growing up in the projects, Rita could have very well went in a variety of directions. But she didn't. She paid attention to her mom's story. I can't say that enough. She paid attention as she thought. So Rita herself, she was also intentional. She even mentioned that when Anton asked her for her number, and then he's gonna ask some weird stuff that a young male, being silly and goofy would ask, and then her response and the way that she dealt with that, Rita was being intentional as well. These people are not anomalies. These people are actually being intentional. They're actually thinking about what they want. Even for Anton to get a vasectomy, for them to sit down and talk about what all they wanted to be able to pour into their child, and how many children, or whether or not to have a bunch of kids or just one, for them to have that conversation beforehand, for them to think about what all that they wanted to pour into their daughter, who, by the way, when you observe her in the videos, she seems to be just like a very well-rounded, beautiful young lady who's just happy, who's competitive, because you see that competitiveness with her. And she's just free. She doesn't have to worry about anything. But why? Because her parents were intentional. So she's able to just be a kid, to explore being a child, a young lady rather, because I think she's 14 now. So she's growing into her womanhood, and she has her mom there as an awesome example, her father there as an awesome example. Two people that were intentional, two people that thought things through. And as a result, this young lady, more than likely, she's going to do exactly what her mom did: maintain her virginity and vet this guy, along with her parents more than likely helping her to vet the guy as well. Which is why I believe that Anton and JR wanted a mirror on the show, because what Anton does is he's always intentional. When you watch this guy, he's always intentional. You can see this even with the questions, even with the things that he tosses out at people. He's always thinking. When you find people that's always thinking, their lives always look a little bit different than people who don't think. Even with the lead attorney, I know that he says that Anton Daniels is lucky, but even when you look at the lead attorney, for him to come from a single parent household, he not noticed. Well, he met his dad, but I think he said he's had like one or two encounters with the guy, but he was raised up by his mom and his grandmother. I mean, lead attorney, he's from Decatur. Come on now, this guy could have easily went in the wrong direction. Easily could have had kids everywhere. But this guy is a lawyer. 20 years in the game, ready to retire. You could tell he's a thinker too. He's intentional as well. Even though he would say that Anton Daniels is lucky, but when you look at the lead attorney, his life seems like he's been intentional as well. So when you think about it, the evidence is there before us. So I will hope that when people listen to this video, that they'll begin to think about the fact of whether or not it's easier to look at Anton as an anomaly, or is it difficult to look at the fact that he's intentional. And the reason why I chose the word difficult, because with being intentional, that means you have to be a thinker. That means you have to plan out and calculate your steps. That means that you have to create blueprints for yourself, just like Serena and Venus Williams' father. He thought about exactly what he wanted and wrote it out before he even had Serena and Venus. And he planned it out thoroughly. And as a result, when you think of tennis, you think of his daughters. Why? Because this guy was intentional. He was not lucky. He wasn't an anomaly. He looked in the power of thinking, the power of being intentional. There's energy around that. So, um, so yeah, I believe Anton Daniels wholeheartedly when he said that he was intentional. And Rita herself was intentional as well. Even though she may not, I don't know if, I can't speak for Rita. Rita's a very lovely lady, very beautiful lady. Anton has a very beautiful family. I mean, just everybody just seems so happy. I'm sure they go through their ups and downs, but these people, with them being intentional, they gonna make it work. They're going to make it work. Rita said herself, it ain't nothing out there for her. She's being intentional, even though she don't get on the mic as much, which her voice is very powerful, and it would be, in my opinion, to her benefit if she did get out there and speak, because I think that she could easily crush this whole anomaly slash being lucky versus being intentional. So on that note, please, I would love for you all to provide some of your feedback down below in the comments field. I'm interested in what your thoughts are on this. And please check out my other videos. And until next time, like, share, subscribe, and enjoy. Peace out.